State taxpayers are already on the hook for millions in repairs for a bridge that won't open for at least 2 years. At the same time, Washington's Department of Transportation is keeping documents about the costs of the new 520 floating bridge strictly secret.
So KOMO 4 News is suing the state for public records violations. Problem solver Tracy Vetter has discovered that the cost of fixing cracks and leaks in the bridge pontoons has already depleted that project's emergency fund.
Whether it's the first cycle of pontoons on Lake Washington or the second batch of mammoth concrete boxes under construction in Aberdeen, every week WashDOT managers are calculating costs. What's the taxpayer price tag for repairing leaks and cracks the problem solvers uncovered? What's the price for redesigning the other 27 pontoons yet to be built? The problem solver started asking about costs last October.
And you can be guaranteed that we're going to pay what we are due to pay for, but nothing more.
WashDOT wouldn't say then and still refuses to tell how much taxpayers may have to pay.
Do we have any idea of the preliminary costs that we as the state, it sounds like, are going to be dealing with?
Secretary Hammond confirmed the state is liable for most of the pontoon problems.
When there's a design flaw, we own it.
But not a word of how much it would cost.
We have no idea of what is the significance from a cost standpoint.
To pin down the taxpayers' risk, the problem solvers sifted through tens of thousands of documents. We found 2 single reports from September, long before the extent of the problems were known. They showed probable costs for repairs and redesign already well over $40 million, and that the pontoon project's reserve for cost overruns already showed a negative balance of nearly $25 million. State Senator Curtis King co-chairs the Transportation Committee.
And we as a legislature should be upset about the fact that we're spending more money than we thought we were going to have to.
When we asked WashDOT for more recent construction reports, we got page after page after page of blacked out numbers. Now KOMO and the problem solvers are suing the state, asking for complete cost reports.
Every time we spend another $1 million, it's the citizens of the state of Washington that are paying that.
Last fall, a problem solver investigation revealed all 6 of the first pontoons from Aberdeen had extensive cracking and developed leaks.
They know they have a problem, and part of it is because of the work that your station has done and you have done to bring it to the forefront.
Now our insider sources tell us that in spite of extensive repairs, cracks in the bottom of at least some of those pontoons are getting worse. So now the state is considering a brand new fix, using steel tendons to tighten the pontoon side to side and hopefully seal the persistent cracks.
So if we put the post tensioning on, that's an option that we feel very confident would give us a good solution. Then any crack occurred.
Earlier this week, WashDOT showed us inside one pontoon currently under construction in Aberdeen.
See a blue line here and a blue line there.
It's just the reflective cracking we're getting with the stresses.
We saw several sections already showing numerous repairs, confirming internal reports saying while overall there is less cracking, in some areas cracking is now occurring at a higher rate in this second cycle.
And we did get more of the cracking than we would have liked, but it's been sealed. We ran it past our...
And now legislators are starting to demand assurances that the pontoon fixes will work.
And we need to be very much assured that that's going to happen, or we need to start over.
Now, Secretary Hammond did say that the reserve fund set up for the other 520 bridge contracts have enough money in them to cover cost overruns from the pontoon project. But without current project documents, we can't confirm that. That's why we're suing the state for those public records, to force them to give us and you answers about those costs. Tracy Vetter, KOMO 4 Problem Solvers.
The citizens and taxpayers win. A King County judge ordered Washington's Department of Transportation to give KOMO 4 News records that include the cost for repairs on the new 520 floating bridge. A KOMO 4 problem solver investigation revealed problems with leaks and cracks in pontoons for the new bridge. KOMO 4's Tracy Vetter is live in our satellite center with today's developments. Tracy?
No question, this was a big win for citizens and open government as the judge ruled WashDOT must hand over those public records. At the bottom of all this are the problems with cracks and leaks in the massive concrete pontoons that will hold up the new 520 floating bridge. What the problem solvers want to know is how much taxpayers will have to pay for construction delays and pontoon repairs. No one at WashDOT will answer that question, saying the costs are subject to negotiation with contractor Kiewit. So the problem solvers used public records laws to get those records. But what we received had the information about repair and delay costs blacked out. Well, today, Como's attorney argued the 520 bridge construction is an important project that the citizens have the right to know about.
We have this huge project being built that's already got problems, that's already behind, that has clearly identified risks, and somehow or other the public isn't supposed to know that there's a train wreck coming?
It would adversely impact the department's ability to get the best cost for the public if this information were made available.
But Judge Judy Ramsayer ruled that the state did not meet its burden of proof, that the records Como is asking for are more weekly status updates than part of any contractor negotiations. We were hoping to be able to show you the costs that were blacked out tonight. But the state now has 2 weeks to decide if it will appeal. Coming up tonight at 11, I'll have more on today's decision, as well as brand new reports that show how extensive the cracking already is, with the second cycle of pontoons currently under construction right now in Aberdeen. Reporting live in the Satellite Center, Tracy Vetter, Como 4 News. When the problem solvers toured the Aberdeen pontoon construction site last month, there were already significant signs of concrete cracks in the second group of pontoons. Now a whistleblower who works for the state says these kinds of construction problems are the result of a systemic breakdown of engineering responsibilities and management within WashDOT. The whistleblower complaint referred to the problem solver investigation for additional evidence, while also alleging that for the 520 bridge project, this breakdown has caused danger to public health and safety, gross waste of public funds, and gross mismanagement. It's a huge case to drop on the desk of brand new state auditor Troy Kelly.
We take all these complaints very seriously. This obviously isn't just a serious complaint, but it's broad, big issue. So that's obviously at the top of our list.
The whistleblower says the problems with cracking and leaking pontoons is directly caused by WashDOT upper management, encouraging engineers to illegally sign off on another engineer's designs. This internal WashDOT memo from last October explains, with a flow chart showing what's supposed to happen. Contractor Kiewit is supposed to take several different design elements, pull them together in one plan, and then produce the final design and construction plans to build the pontoons. But the memo adds that since this hasn't been followed, it's resulted in compromises to the structural integrity of the pontoons. The auditor plans to investigate in tandem with the state's Board of Professional Engineers.
We do need that expertise, and it's all not within this office. So yes, we would have to work with the other agency that has that expertise. I mean, that's a key issue.
But the investigation could take time, perhaps as much as a year. The whistleblower tells me he hopes that simply by filing his complaint, the governor or the legislature will step in to act more quickly. Tracy Vetter, Como 4 Problem Solvers.
The state admits there is a flaw in the pontoons built to hold up the new 520 bridge.
There was a mistake made.
The Como 4 problem solvers uncovered cracks and leaks in structures. Now the Department of Transportation says heads could roll.
It was our problem solvers' investigation into the 520 bridge project which led Governor Gregoire to order an independent review.
The results released today confirm what we've been reporting for months: serious design and construction flaws with the pontoons that are meant to hold up the bridge.
Como 4's Tracy Vetter broke this story and is live with the report, which could cost some people their jobs. Tracy?
Well, today, outgoing Transportation Secretary Paula Hammond made it clear her agency made mistakes, and the result is pontoons out there on Lake Washington that could cost millions to repair.
Well, one of the things that was most important to me to make sure we could assure the taxpayers is the product that they will end up with is going to be a good product.
WashDOT's panel of experts said that in spite of ongoing problems with cracks and at least one persistent leak, The pontoons designed by WashDOT and built by contractor Kiewit are structurally sound and will last 75 years with normal maintenance. But getting there will cost, likely millions. The repair plan involves adding new tensioning systems across the width of the pontoons to pull them tighter. And on the lake, that means creating dry areas below the water's surface to do the repairs.
We will not talk about, nor do we exactly know, what the cost responsibility to the state is.
Insiders told the problem solvers the issues with the pontoons are a result of poor construction practices and of contractor Kiewit not completing its design responsibilities. A whistleblower complaint to the state auditor alleges the same thing.
But we've had some problems on this project.
Secretary Hammond says the expert panel found the flaw is in WashDOT's own design and that its own engineers did not conduct a critical design model which would have exposed the flaw before construction. She said that could mean some people could lose their jobs. And she admits the department took a risk by planning such a tight construction timetable.
It did not mean that anybody inside our agency should have taken shortcuts on what they were doing and as they were responsible for this contract.
Now, my sources tell me, however, that the real flaw is in WashDOT managers allowing contractor Kiewit to start building those pontoons without finalized construction plans. But ultimately, with Secretary Hammond accepting responsibility, it's likely the taxpayers and not the contractor will pay the majority of this bill. Reporting live at the 520 construction site, Tracy Vetter, Como 4 Problem Solvers.
Significant developments. Tracy, thank you.
Spiral out of control.
We feel that we have not been given the straight story.
They'll be looking to the public to bail them out.
The new 520 bridge, at a total anticipated cost of $4.1 billion, was already the most expensive public works project in the state. WashDOT gleefully pointed to cost savings as contract bids came in low and federal grants saved other money. But most of those savings will never make it to taxpayers, and you can blame it on the problems we first uncovered with the pontoons. For months, a problem solver investigation has spotlighted problems with cracks and leaks in the massive floating concrete structures that will hold up the new bridge. But WashDOT, Washington's Department of Transportation, refused to tell us how much repairing those pontoons will cost.
We cannot and will not negotiate the financial settlement with the contractor and the media.
Como 4 News sued WashDOT for those documents. Weekly reports for all 3 current contracts involved in 520 construction. 2 of them involve those troubled pontoons and are with prime contractor Kiewit. As of last November, projections for extra costs to build the pontoons in Aberdeen and to repair the pontoons out on Lake Washington hit a stunning $86.4 million. Add the extra cost for the 3rd contract connecting 520 to the east side and the extra cost the state's already agreed to pay, it adds up to a shocking $153.8 million. And the bridge won't be finished for at least another 2 years.
We're concerned about who's in charge overseeing that the costs don't go out of control.
As vice president of the Washington Policy Center, Paul Guppy says it may be time for new Governor Jay Inslee to call a timeout and do a top-to-bottom review of the 520 project.
Taking a pause may be a way for them to get a handle on these problems.
At the same time, the legislature wants to add tolls on I-90 to help pay for the 520 bridge. Unpopular at any time, but with these mounting costs,
I think it should bother every single user of I-90 and every single user of 520 because all of us are going to have to pay. I think that they need to take a time out as to building the pontoons and seeing what's happening there.
WashDOT says the 520 project started with a $250 million contingency fund. Their own projections show as of last November, $153 million is already accounted for, and the 520 bridge is still more than 2 years away from completion. Tracy Vetter, Como 4 Problem Solvers.
Governor Jay Inslee says the findings on the 520 bridge are deep.
Como 4 News starts right now.
It's unprecedented fallout from the serious problems plaguing the new 520 bridge.
The Como 4 Problem Solvers have discovered that more than a dozen state DOT employees, most of them top managers, have received disciplinary letters for design and oversight errors.
Errors that the problem solvers have previously reported will cost taxpayers more than $100 million to fix.
Como 4's Tracy Vetter is live with the newest developments. Tracy?
These are stunning developments. As our sources tell me, these letters have gone out to top managers across all parts of the 520 Bridge program, even to WashDOT headquarters in Olympia. But that is what Governor Inslee promised.
So there's a series of issues.
When WashDOT announced the results of an internal review of cracking and leaking problems with pontoons destined to hold up the new 520 bridge, the primary focus was on the design by state engineers. And that's where former Secretary Paula Hammond appeared to indicate the promised discipline would fall hardest.
We don't expect that we're going to have a flaw in something that we are normally very good at.
But the review also pointed to significant management errors with the new bridge. Now the problem solvers have discovered that the proposed discipline falls across all levels of the 520 program. At least 13 employees, almost all management staff. From construction managers who oversaw building the pontoons out at Aberdeen to managers of the entire 520 program, all the way up to top staff in Olympia.
But we'll be looking at new ways to make sure we don't have a failure of performance again at DOT.
Governor Inslee promised last week to follow through on the disciplinary process. According to State Human Resources Office, the first step is each employee must be notified of the charges against them. Then a pre-discipline hearing is scheduled. WashDOT previously said they want this completed by April 12th, at which point the employee has the right to appeal any discipline.
So while we're going through this process, there's a period where we cannot actually share some of the personnel issues with you or anyone else while that process is going on.
Today is the new Transportation Secretary's first day on the job. Her office says because these are personnel issues, she won't comment on the disciplinary letters, but it's clear she takes over at a time of major upheaval within the agency. Tracy Vetter, KOMO 4 Problem Solvers.
Thank you, Tracy. To see the entire history of Tracy's
New at 6, our state's new Secretary of Transportation inherited a truckload of problems, from a bridge being built with cracked pontoons to millions in extra costs to taxpayers and an unprecedented level of disciplinary notices for employees. KOMO 4's Tracy Vetter talked with the Secretary and is live in our satellite center. Tracy?
You know, Secretary Lynn Peterson shies away from calling herself a change agent or a reformer, but she's clear that reform is what Governor Jay Inslee had in mind when he appointed her.
I think that we are working on building back up some trust with the citizens of Washington.
5 days into the job, Secretary Peterson has already begun answering questions for the State Transportation Commission, traveled the state, and made some big decisions. The biggest spurred by construction defects and design flaws with the 520 bridge pontoons, first brought to light by the problem solvers.
So yes, a mistake was made on 520, and we're working to correct that.
Peterson hired Ron Ponanen, a former WashDOT manager, to put together an assessment of the state's 3 biggest projects: the 520 bridge, the Alaska Way Viaduct, and the Columbia River crossing. Together, the 3 will cost more than $10 billion. Design errors in 2 of them, the 520 bridge and the Columbia River crossing, are already expected to cost more than $200 million to fix. Ponanen is tasked with looking at all 3 projects for possible risks.
We want to make sure that there's good processes in place so that some of those major decisions are well vetted before you get so far down the road that you're kind of locked in.
But with Ponanen a former insider, Peterson's first big decision is already garnering criticism. In response, one of their second steps is to bring in true outsiders, people who haven't worked for WashDOT, to work on Ponanen's review team.
There are a lot of folks in this field that have touched WashDOT in some way, so we're looking for folks that have not.
Secretary Peterson didn't comment directly on the legislature's move to increase the gasoline tax, but she said her job is not to just do business as usual, but to make sure taxpayers are getting the biggest bang for their buck. Live in the Satellite Center, Tracy Vetter, KOMO 4 News.
WashDOT is launching its plan to repair the first set of cracked pontoons for the 520 bridge. It will cost in the tens of millions of dollars and won't be finished until at least March. A problem solver investigation uncovered the pattern of serious construction problems with those pontoons last year. KOMO 4's Tracy Vetter continues our investigation with more new details about the problems. She's live at the 520 bridge. Tracy?
Well, Molly, the 4 big pontoons floating on Lake Washington right now look solid, and state experts insist they are structurally sound. However, the problem solvers have obtained detailed crack maps from just this past winter that show just how serious the problems really are.
So these are big pontoons. They weigh about 11,000 tons.
And 4 of those big pontoons are destined for big repairs. The problem solvers obtained diagrams of external cracks on pontoons W and V taken by divers last winter. Every red line is a crack. The most troublesome areas are the bottoms or keels of the pontoons, and on pontoon V, the cracks are extensive.
The whole idea is to actually seal the pontoons to prevent the water intrusion.
Last fall, the problem solvers uncovered extensive cracks and leaks in the first set of pontoons. Starting next week, pontoon T will be towed to a dry dock in Portland by the same tug that is currently hauling pontoon A into Lake Washington. And then in July, pontoon W, now floating in the middle of the lake, will make the trip to a dry dock on Harbor Island. The other 2 pontoons will be repaired in the lake starting next winter when a steel cofferdam is ready. It will create dry space around the areas needing repairs.
And it's really 3 very critical and different types of repairs.
The first repair involves injecting epoxy into those keel cracks. Then steel post-tensioning strands will tighten the pontoons side to side. And finally, adding carbon fiber mats to some sections. WashDOT won't put a specific price tag on repairs.
It's a difficult operation, and it will cost tens of millions of dollars, and I'd hate to speculate more than that because we're in negotiations with the contractor.
The repairs also slow down completion of the bridge. Right now, they're hoping to meet a new target deadline of July 2015, a year later than the original plan.
But it is a very aggressive schedule.
Okay. I don't know what that means in layman's terms.
It means it's going to be difficult to manage.
I also asked WashDOT if they're concerned about rebar corrosion as a result of towing 2 of those pontoons back through the salt water to dry dock. But project manager Dave Becker tells me the trips are going to be short enough. They don't think corrosion will be a problem. Reporting live at the 520 Bridge, Tracy Vetter, KOMO 4 News.
The price tag for problems with the new 520 bridge is finally in, and it's a whopper. Nearly $400 million in potential cost overruns, all coming out of taxpayers' pockets.
The problem solvers uncovered these numbers as part of our continuing What a Waste investigation into the floating bridge. KOMO 4's Tracy Vetter is live in our satellite center with more on what she has uncovered. Tracy?
Well, you know, last winter, KOMO TV sued the state over your right to see numbers in these public records for just this reason. These newest records show that pontoon repairs and delays could exhaust the project's contingency fund and put it more than $100 million in the hole.
We can't keep continuing to make these kinds of mistakes.
State Senator Curtis King is talking about this.
These cracks have been all repaired.
Mistakes that resulted in major cracks and leaks in the first set of concrete pontoons destined for the new 520 floating bridge. Though repairs are now underway, the problem solvers have learned that the cost of those and of the delays to the 520 project could put that project in the red over what are called change orders, but in common terms are cost overruns.
We're hopeful that, and pretty sure that these would be the upper end of the cost, and hopefully we'd be able to negotiate those down.
WashDOT has already paid out nearly $150 million for change orders on the 3 main bridge contracts. Now we've learned pending and potential change orders could add another $228.4 million for a total in cost overruns of $378.2 million. But the state's contingency fund is just $250 million, leaving the project as much as $128.2 million in the hole.
We can't afford to spend $378 million more than we should have for any reason.
The problem solvers first exposed the cracks and leaks in pontoons nearly a year ago. We also revealed a contract flaw that left the state paying hefty fees to one contractor for delays caused by those pontoon problems.
The change orders
are paid from the SR 520 contingency reserves.
Just last month, the state revealed some of the repair costs, and while they warned there would still be additional significant costs, they added the contingency fund still had $100 million left. Our new numbers caught Senator King and other legislators off guard.
We got to address why do these things happen, and we got to assure the public that they're not going to happen again.
We know probably what our maximum exposure would be.
New leadership within WashDOT insists this is the max for pontoon repair and delay costs on the project, that there are no new problems on the horizon. And for the taxpayers,
it's a lot of money, there's no question about it, but we think we have things well managed right now as far as cost containment.
And two things to remember. First, the state doesn't know yet where the money for these potential cost overruns will come from. And two, there's still a lot of construction ahead on this bridge. It won't open for traffic until 2016. So Secretary Peterson has directed her staff to search for savings and figure out how this will affect the project's financing. Reporting live in the Satellite Center, Tracy Vetter, KOMO 4 Problem Solvers.
There is more trouble for one of the big concrete pontoons that are destined to hold up the new 520 floating bridge. It was a KOMO 4 Problem Solver investigation that first revealed extensive cracks and leaks in those massive pontoons. KOMO 4 Problem Solver Tracy Vetter has been on top of this story from the very beginning. She is live in the newsroom with today's developments. So what now, Tracy?
Well, Eric, WashDOT just revealed today that 6 pillars on top of a key pontoon are going to have to be completely torn out and rebuilt. This time because of construction errors. This is Pontoon W, sitting now at a Manson construction dock on the Duwamish, waiting for yet another round of repairs.
These cracks have been all repaired.
It just finished undergoing extensive repairs in a Harbor Island dry dock to fix major cracks. Serious flaws in the pontoons that were first revealed a year ago by the problem solvers. WashDOT blamed those problems on a design flaw by their own engineers. But now contractor Kiewit admits it's responsible for construction issues that allowed the rebar cages forming the columns on top of Pontoon W to shift.
Kiewit identified early on that they had issues with the methods that they employed. This last Friday, they informed us that they intended to remove the columns and replace them.
520 project manager Julie Meredith briefed Sound Transit board members on the status of the bridge construction. It's already behind schedule with a projected completion date of late 2015 to early 2016. And with potential repair costs topping $378 million, the project will have already exhausted its contingency fund. But Meredith says the cost of these new repairs will not be borne by taxpayers, but by Kiewit.
This will be done at their expense and on their time. It'll take another 4 to 8 weeks.
And WashDOT adds that 4 to 8 weeks of additional repairs should not add any more delays to the bridge construction. Reporting live in the newsroom, Tracy Vetter, KOMO 4 Problem Solvers.